Come with me to a magical place where being labeled the pork queen is a compliment, where being nice is just a way of life, and where all leaders of the free world must pass through. Welcome to Iowa. Whether you're a current Iowan, an Iowa expat, or an Iowan at heart, this show is for you. This is the Iowa Podcast. Real Iowans, real talk, no drama. I'm Justin Brady. As you all know, I'm about as sports illiterate as... I'm not even going to try to create an example, because I brought Ross Peterson in again. Everyone loved you on the last show.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that.
I got a lot of great feedback.
Thanks.
And so, to get our numbers up, I just figured I'd bring
thank you
back.
for saying that. Justin, I'll be honest. I had a lot of people... A couple people reached out to me and told me that they found me, I was watching Bruno, or you had Scott Bush on.
Yeah, had Scott.
Some other folks that you've had on here recently that people reached out to me and said, I was listening to this interview and then went back and saw that you were on. Mark Charter, you had Mark of Agency Iowa.
Agency Iowa. Show the hat to the camera there. There we go. Beautiful.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, we do this. There's a video. You can go to iowapodcast.com, look for the... now, the only one doing video right now is the Iowa Podcast. We have other shows, Iowa Manufacturing Podcast, Iowa Tech Podcast, Iowa Ag Podcast. They're not doing video yet, but we do the Iowa Podcast, so you can check out Ross's cool hat if you want to.
It's really cool. It's a black hat, and in white letters it says Agency Iowa, the firm that I am a realtor for.
Yeah, so you have the Ross Peterson, formerly KXNO. You're a realtor.
Yes, I am.
But then you also have a new show, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about Ben McCollum. We're going to talk about Drake, March Madness, women, men, and wrestling, and maybe some other topics.
Yeah.
But really quickly, what's the current status of Ross Peterson?
Oh, okay. I like that question. So wake up at 5 a.m. and at 6 a.m. from 6 to 8, I do a live internet radio show.
Wait, 6 a.m.?
6 a.m. from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m.
I
every
thought you
day.
were doing a meme. Have you seen the meme of the bodybuilder that gets up really early?
Yeah.
And he does the push-ups and he does the water. And have you seen this yet?
No, I have not. No.
I thought you were doing the meme.
Oh, I'm so
anyway,
sorry. No, I swear. No, this is my real routine. I have 2 kids. They're with me most of the time. And so being able to stay at home, being able to do this in the morning before school was the priority for me. So I think when we talked last time, I don't know where we were at in kind of the planning stages of this.
You were thinking about the new show.
Okay. I know we were close, and I was still, I think, working. I don't remember exactly the dates that things kind of got finalized.
But there is a new show now.
There is a new show. It's called The Rush.
Yes, there we go.
With Travis and Ross. You can find it at therushladio.com. You can find the podcast, kind of like what you do, where it's available on every podcast platform at The Rush or The Rush with Travis and Ross, The Rush Radio. You'll find us in all those places. The easiest way to find us is to go to the website, The Rush Radio. But you can, like you were saying, you have a video with this also. If you're on YouTube, you can just go to The Rush with Travis and Ross, and we are on YouTube every morning, live from 6 to 8. It's awesome. Been fantastic. And then, we've had really wonderful success here early on. So it's been great to, as you know, Justin, when you step out and kind of do your own thing, it's rewarding.
And real quick, for those of you listening in the car, yes, on iowapodcast.com, I'll post all those direct links so you can find it, because everybody should absolutely go subscribe to the show.
Well, thank you.
Get that momentum going for Ross.
Yeah, and it is, Justin, I've learned so much. I'm really late to the YouTube game.
Dude, I know. I was too.
I'm just getting in. And I am so late to it. I did not know how easy and that it was free to subscribe to channels. Mm-hmm. I thought you had to have an account that you paid for.
Really?
Yeah, really did. And went to go create my own stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is so unbelievably easy.
That's interesting.
And then have learned the momentum that you get from those little things, from just hitting subscribe for somebody, does nothing to your feed, just, it helps. It's almost like having a friend in Facebook or following somebody on Twitter. It's the exact same thing. You're just subscribing, and then when they post stuff, it kind of pops up at the top of your feed. But other than that,
we started pushing out the show to YouTube. I don't even know what it was, 6 months ago, something like that, because a friend of mine, Ryan Dozer, and he's a local marketing, SEO, digital guy.
I know Ryan.
Smart
in some
dude.
Way. Yeah, I've heard that name.
Absolutely smart dude. He was saying because most of our listeners on this show, and I will get back to sports, I promise everybody, but most of our listeners on this show used to find us through search engine. Yeah. I know what I'm doing with the search engine. If you have a 4-letter or 4-word phrase, 5 or 8-word phrase you want to rank for, I can absolutely get you there, page 1, rank 1. I know how to do that. And so that's where a lot of my listeners have come from for the Iowa Podcast and iowapodcast.com. But he was saying, hey, with AI, people using AI search, SEO is going to change a little bit. The YouTube headline is the new H1. And for web people, what that means is the phrases that you're getting things to rank for. That's actually YouTube now. YouTube is going to drive digital subscriber acquisition. And so I was like, crap, I got to get on YouTube. So we put the show on YouTube, and holy freaking crap. I don't know where all of you are coming from on YouTube. I am very, very grateful. Thank you. But my word, YouTube is incredible. It just expands your reach like crazy.
Having a conversation with a technologically advanced friend, cutting edge dude. He told me a long time ago, he said, YouTube's going to will soon be the biggest search engine outside of Google. I was like, no, YouTube, like the place people post videos. No, I mean YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's way more than what you think it is, and it will be the number 1 search engine. And he called me, I think, a few months ago and said, hey, YouTube, it has done it. It is the number 1 search engine. Like, people are using YouTube as a search engine.
It's weird, right?
It's wild.
Yeah. Anyway, Ben McCollum.
Yeah.
Do we know anything about Ben McCollum except for the fact he left Drake? He's going to Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, we know. Here's what you need to know about Ben McCollum. Iowa, born in Iowa City.
For basketball, obviously.
Yeah, he is the new Hawkeye men's basketball coach, okay? The things that you need to know about Ben McCollum are he is an Iowa guy. And that's not the corny way of saying he knows where the cornfields are. No, he was born in Iowa City. He was raised in Iowa, grew up an Iowa Hawkeye basketball fan, went to the Tom Davis basketball camps as a kid, can tell you his favorite players from the 80s and 90s, and then got into the basketball coaching profession, had an outstanding career at the Division II level, where he not only won national titles, but stayed in one job for a very long time as a real hot commodity, Justin. He was a highly sought after coach in that level, and didn't take any of those jobs for about a decade until he moved to Drake about a year ago today. Darren DeVries, who had been the coach at Drake, moved to West Virginia after 6 years, and they brought in Ben McCollum. And Ben McCollum came back to Iowa after 12 years at the Division II level because it was the right fit. He felt like he was working with the right people. It was closer to home. The things you want to hear when you're hiring a coach at a place like Drake. I believe that the plan and maybe his hope, and probably Brian Harden, the athletic director for Drake University, I would think that both of them, they're maybe even in a conversation, they said to each other out loud, 3 to 5 years. You have success here in 3 to 5 years. Maybe even the Iowa job is open in that time, because Fran McCaffery was nearing, a year ago, it was pretty clear Fran McCaffery was in that 3 to 5 year exit plan, okay? So maybe that was the plan for everybody. And then as the universe and God have a way of doing, they shuffled everybody's timeline, right? And Fran had a bad year, and it was pretty evident late January, early February that things were probably falling apart and needed to change there.
Yeah.
The exact same time frame is when Drake hit an 11-game win streak. They shoot into national prominence. Everybody starts looking at Ben McCollum. They're recognizing, and then they're recognizing not only that record that I just laid out for you, but he is an impressive guy, Justin. Like when you talk to him, you know this with politicians, and coaches and politicians are very, very similar. There's a lot of them have this aura. They've got this very charismatic, whatever you want to call it, X factor. You're around them, and all of a sudden you go, right? and it takes a while to catch yourself doing it and go, okay, wait. I'm falling for the charisma trick. Yeah, I'm falling for the allure, the aura, and I got to get past that.
The charisma.
And with Ben McCollum, when you get past that, it is genuine. He's vulnerable in interviews. He will be very honest and open. So what do you need to know about Ben McCollum? I think you need to know that he's a very good basketball coach. Drake was fantastic this year. Not just their record. I mean, if you watch them play, they play fantastic, aggressive defense and team basketball on offense. And those two things are two things that have been missing from Hawkeye basketball. Hawkeyes could score a lot of points under Fran McCaffery. They were always known as a poor defensive team. They might have a good defensive player now and again, but they were known as a poor defensive unit. And offensively, even though they scored a lot of points, it was almost always done in transition. There was more of a flow to the game rather than come down, we're going to set up the play, it's going to have bounce passes, there's going to be a weave and an emotion to the offense, and we're going to attack almost like a hockey play, we're going to attack the rim in that way. And that's how Drake played this year. Ben McCollum has already announced that he's bringing his star player along with him to Iowa.
Oh, I missed that.
Point guard. Yep. So
who's that?
Bennett Sturtz. So that's a big get for Ben McCollum to start this process.
So we get Ben McCollum and his star player in this.
Yes.
So how ticked off is Drake right now?
Well, listen, that's a really good question.
Are they really ticked?
No.
Not on the surface.
No, Justin. No, let's talk about that because we had Brian Harden on our show yesterday.
For those that don't know,
Brian Harden, Drake athletic director. I apologize. First of all, they knew this was coming. This is the next one of those expectations conversations where not only, again, when you hire a guy like that, your hope is at Drake University. Your hope is that he's going to have enough success that in 3 to 5 years, another university's calling. A West Virginia is knocking on the door with a truckload of money, because what that means, and that's the Darren DeVries reference for the non-sports junkies out there. Drake's last coach, after 6 years, had great success. A Division I team shows up with a truckload of money. So as you go to hire the next coach, that's got to be your hope. That we're going to have...
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, hold up. Okay. Wait a minute.
Okay.
So again, your area, not mine. So this is news to me. You're saying schools like Drake are actually happy about almost being a recruiting pipeline for some of these bigger, more influential, more funded universities. So when Drake brings someone in there as a head basketball coach, they're completely happy with them going to a bigger, better job in 3 to 5 years.
Okay, I want to be careful not to speak for Brian Harden and Drake University,
sure.
but I want to, and I also needs more of an explanation than just yes, they're happy. They're happy being a recruiting ground for those greener pastures. If they are a recruiting ground for those recruiting pastures, that's indicative of grand success. So if you are having great success, that's why I say when you interview a coach like Ben McCollum, your hope is, and Brian Harden is probably having that conversation with the next head coach right now, saying to him, here's what's possible. Look what happened with Coach Darren DeVries. 6 years, he comes here, he kicks butt. Now he's got that. he's now the coach in Indiana, by the way, but he got that big offer and life-changing money. Ben McCollum did it in 1 year.
Interesting.
So the eyeballs are here. Okay, so if you come here and you win, now it's a tough job. Because just like Darren DeVries took his best player, who was his son, away from Drake, Ben McCollum now takes his best player away from Drake. The next coach is going to have to come in and do exactly what Ben McCollum did, and that's build the roster from scratch. Ironically, it's the same thing that happened 8 years ago when Darren DeVries took over Drake. The roster was empty, and he had to build it from scratch on day one.
Okay. That's crazy. So that's interesting because you're saying now, and this is a great point, you're saying that Drake now has this record. And they can be this pipeline of hot talent, whereas otherwise, Drake, if they weren't doing this, Drake would be just kind of picking from, let's just say, like the bottom tier coaches who have a failing record, really haven't done much. But now Drake is in this position to say, all we need to do is fall back on our record and say, hey, we think you're a hot talent. Look at where our coaches go.
It's funny.
Come here.
It's funny.
And they can win those conversations and get some super hot talent. They know it's going to be 3 to 5 years, and then that's the end. But truthfully, for most programs in the country, it's 3 to 5 years, and that's the end. So Drake ends up being a pretty big winner here.
Yes.
And Iowa, obviously.
Yes. Iowa's a big winner. And, okay, while we're having this conversation, I think I should also mention, the coach before Darren DeVries is a guy named Nico Medved.
Mm-hmm.
He was just announced yesterday as the head coach at Minnesota. Okay, so you've got 3 coaches in a row now that are that in the last 48 hours have been announced as head coaches in the Big Ten.
Wow.
The new Indiana coach is Darren DeVries. The new Minnesota coach is Nico Medved, and the new Iowa coach is Ben McCollum.
All through Drake.
All of them in the last 10 years have been the head coach at Drake University.
What?
Yeah. Those are the last 3 coaches. Nico Medved, Darren DeVries, Ben McCollum, 1, 2, 3, and they've been announced at Minnesota, Indiana, and Iowa, respectively.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, we asked Brian Harden that. Does that success make this hire easier? Does it make the job easier in any way? And Justin, you also are aware of this, man. With success comes expectation.
Yeah, that's true.
And you are raising that expectation, and everybody around you thinks, okay, you've got the magic sauce, you caught the lightning in the bottle, grab your gloves and bottle, and let's see how you do this. And there has to be a thing, and Brian, again, a local guy. Brian went to Valley, and now he's climbed the ranks through different athletic departments and is the AD at Drake. His phone's probably ringing also because he's done such a good job.
Interesting.
Here's to give you an idea of how good of a job he's done, Justin. His coach got hired away. Drake's coach just got hired at UNI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Brian then hired Joe Woodley from Grandview, who just won a national title and hasn't lost a regular season game in his career. So Brian is nailing it. Hire after hire after hire after hire have been home run hires.
God,
so
that is crazy.
While he's cultivating a list of great talent, while he's reaching out, negotiating on all of this, I do believe his phone is also ringing at the same time, saying, hey, would you be interested in this job? Do you want to uproot your family from your hometown and come work here?
Wow. So the timing is good because, for Iowa and Drake, obviously, as you point out, but the timing is good for Iowa because, this year they didn't go to the tournament. The NCAA tournament.
No.
They didn't
They barely made the Big Ten tournament, Justin.
Right, they barely made the Big Ten tournament.
Which wasn't even a thing.
They didn't go to the NIT.
No.
They didn't go to the College Basketball Crown.
No.
This is not good, guys.
Beyond the success, beyond the wins and losses, the fan interest is at in my lifetime as I can remember an all-time low.
Yeah, we went to a basketball game. We went to Iowa, Wisconsin.
You did?
So fun. My dad and I went. So fun. We had the Carver cones, which I'm convinced. Sorry. I love my Hawkeyes, but it's the same soft serve everybody else uses, but it has a cool brand. It was so fun. Carver's great, right? But it was easy to find a ticket.
Yep.
And
think
probably
about this.
60% full.
You went to probably the second most, I don't want to say anticipated. It's the wrong word. Outside of the Iowa State game, that was the second biggest home game because of Wisconsin, because of the proximity.
Oh.
Purely, didn't you notice a lot of Wisconsin folks were there?
We sat next to them.
They
came in. They didn't leave.
So
we beat them up. That's the joke.
Beat them up. That's what you do.
East Siders, guys. That's what we do.
Right.
Ross and I are both East Siders. We beat people up. Yeah. We kneecap you if we have a disagreement.
That's why I'm sitting on this side, so you can't see the teardrop tattoo on this side.
That's right. So March Madness, ISU too. They dropped round 2.
Yeah.
So Iowa didn't even go. ISU, that normally has the strong basketball program.
Yeah.
So I mean, Drake's lost their coach. Iowa's rebuilding. ISU is out round 2. Everyone's kind of struggling. And then of course, Lady Hawkeyes basketball.
They're out.
They're out. Did okay. I mean, they're out round 2 as well. Not terrible, not great. Is the Caitlin Clark effect going to be long lasting, or are we seeing things start to slow down and for them to lose momentum already?
Yes, you're definitely seeing it lose momentum. When you say the Caitlin Clark effect, will it last? Because all of those things that you just said are expectation conversations. Mm-hmm. Iowa State did get bounced in the second round, but their expectation was to get to the Sweet 16 of the Final Four.
Right.
Drake got bounced in the second round, but everybody involved with Drake was loving the ride and the one win you got in March. So what's the expectation for the Caitlin Clark effect? Is it lasting into season ticket sales? Yes. Is it lasting into? I think that's, I want to be careful here because I hate overstating. I don't want to get into hyperbole. So I want to answer your question. Your question was, is the momentum dying? There's no doubt about that. Caitlin Clark has moved on, and with her moving on, some of that momentum and has gone into the WNBA and the Fever. So while this year was still a great crowd at Carver, and this year's team was really good and had to bounce back from a lot, not only losing Caitlin Clark, remember the head coach changed over also, which is a big
Lisa
change.
Bluter, right? Yeah.
So you had to end a lot more
Was it Lisa
talent.
Bluter? Did I get that right?
Yeah, Lisa, look at you.
Yes.
Look at this guy.
Yes.
The new coach is?
I have no idea.
Jan Jensen. Who also, a lot of Iowa ties, a lot of Iowa names in there. But anyway, with Caitlin Clark, a lot of other talent left with her. Okay, she had like 3 or 4 teammates that were gone too. One of them is another star in the WNBA.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So the expectation for this team's success was almost met. The expectation for this team's success for Jan Jensen in her first year was to get this team to the NCAA tournament and maybe win a game or 2.
Okay, yeah.
So they got there.
Yeah.
They did that. Is the momentum from Caitlin Clark fading? No doubt about that. Last year, people in Iowa were having family gatherings for Caitlin Clark games. You got together to watch Caitlin Clark play against Angel Reese. You had barbecues and potlucks, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's gone. That stuff's moved on. Are parents still calling their kids and saying, "Hey, did you watch the game last night?" Yeah. Is some of that momentum dying? You have to acknowledge that it is. And I think you had to expect that again. The expectation had to be that ride that wave and hold on to what you can that's left when the wave crashes, because the wave crashed. It's moved on to the WNBA, and I think that the Fever are probably experiencing that same sort of thing. Caitlin Clark's effect has been way more long-lasting than I ever would have given it predicted. Mm-hmm. But the momentum is slowing down here in Iowa.
Because you wonder back then, is this going to transform forever the women's basketball program and bring it into the Duke name, like Duke and basketball, right? Like everyone can name the basketball programs that are just even though their records maybe aren't as great in the last 5 years, they just kind of have that iconic.
We call them blue blood programs, right? Where they're the stalwarts of
right. So was the Caitlin Clark effect, like did the Iowa program, the Iowa athletics program, take advantage of that? Is that going to solidify them as this kind of this, what do you call it, blue blood program? Yeah. Or was it just a great year, which is great. We're happy about that. And it's not really going to change the future of the program. Because I think last time you were in here, you mentioned that the Iowa Hawkeyes football team kind of had this problem back in 2009 when they had the whole Marvin McNutt era and the amazing catches and the just unbeatable team.
Things were so fun.
And and now everyone just holds everything to that standard. Yeah. Is the Iowa, and I think you said this, is the Iowa women's program going to be in a perpetual state of just,
Not perpetual, okay? I think, again, that that wave kind of crested. Yeah. And so you got that, but they've got the things in place that you need to get back to that point. Is Iowa women's basketball ever going to be considered like a Duke program? No. I mean, not for a long, long time, because
not in the near future anyway.
You don't get that until you get a decade or decades.
That's a great point.
Of success.
It's got to go beyond one player and one star team.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, what Caitlin Clark, the effect that she has had is so hard to make comparisons back to.
Plus, no one really saw it coming. Was she like a super heavy recruit? Like people were after her?
Yes. Well, I mean, but again,
I don't think anyone knew.
But Justin, it was women's basketball,
right? They didn't get the stardom. They didn't get all the attention. Yeah,
not at all. When Tiger Woods came onto the scene in golf, that's about the last time that I remember something like this.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned that last time.
Right. Where it just changes everything with that you think about what's possible for that.
Right.
So that's a tough one, man.
Yeah, it is. Last question.
Okay. Oh yeah. Jeez, are we done already?
No, we're not done.
Okay.
That's why I have a last question.
Oh, okay.
You don't get to escape just yet.
I was like, I don't want to leave.
Wrestling.
Because Hulk Hogan.
Iowa. I think it's Drake Ayala.
Drake Ayala. Yeah.
Drake Ayala. Thank you.
Yeah.
Finished fourth, All-American honors. Kyle Parko, fifth, All-American honors. Iowa, obviously, University of Iowa. Maybe not. Is that another program that's maybe losing a little bit of momentum, just a little bit? Still on top, still strong.
Okay.
But maybe move, Iowa wrestling, it just kind of, it's almost a given every year. They're just going to crush everybody. And it's going to be easy. It
used to be, Justin, and now that is Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State.
The program that we grew up knowing as Iowa, that was dominant, that beat everybody, won the national title every year, was just destroy the best wrestlers wanted to be.
It was never a surprise when they won. Dad would be like, I wouldn't even follow it, and Dad would be like, oh, they won again. I'm like, what else is
whatever.
new?
Yeah, 17 years in a row, whatever it is. That has been Penn State for a long time.
Yeah.
And when they wrestled in a head-to-head duel, the gap was very obvious. So, wonderful success. The team is still really good. There's a lot of folks, though, that are wanting to close that gap a lot quicker.
Of course.
They want to move on. The noise is continuing to grow about possibly even getting rid of the Brands brothers. I say the Brands brothers, but Tom Brands, the head coach of Iowa, and possibly moving on. The most popular name is Coach Doug Schwab, who's the head coach at UNI right now, who's done amazing things with not the resources that they have in Iowa City. And UNI had several guys wrestling in the semifinals and finals even on Saturday in the NCAA championships. So it'd be interesting to see what a guy like that can do. Right now, my gut says there's nothing and nobody that can beat Cale Sanderson and what he's doing at Penn State. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that Tom Brands and what he and Tom Brands and his current resources at Iowa cannot catch him. They just brought in the #1 recruit in the country. Again, a kid named Bo Bassett is going to be an Iowa Hawkeye wrestler. He actually grew up in Pennsylvania. So
that's funny.
Huge win for Iowa wrestling to get.
Take that.
Yeah. This is not the first time. Remember Spencer Lee? Remember that name?
Nope.
Spencer Lee. Okay, well,
Spencer. That's why I
just a few years ago. I'll tell you this: Spencer Lee, just a few years ago.
Yeah, I know the name.
Okay, he was one of the greatest college wrestlers of all time. Okay, and when the Hawkeyes got him, Penn State had already built this gap between their program and Iowa. And when the Hawkeyes landed Spencer Lee, it was like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe they're closing the gap. Maybe Iowa has figured something out. They got the #1 recruit. They got this kid that we thought was going to go to Penn State. Now we can go win national titles. In the time that Spencer Lee was at Iowa, Penn State furthered the gap.
Wow.
Okay? So this is getting Bo Bassett's a great thing. This is the #1 recruit in the country. He won't come next year. He's only a junior, so he's still got another year of high school wrestling. He'll bring with him a lot of great wrestlers and a lot of great talent, because that's the way that these youth sports work now. Is this talent is starting to coagulate at a very early age. So they're all wrestling together in the same clubs. Playing together on the same travel teams, playing against each other, getting to know each other at these these tournaments. So the talent is grouping up at an early and earlier age in these youth sports. Okay, and that's happening with wrestling. So Bo Bassett, getting him, that's like bringing in the sun, and now you can get that magnet that pulls in all these other. He's a gravitational pull type of recruit, but Spencer Lee was also. And while he was here, Penn State figured it out and furthered the gap.
That's so funny.
So we'll see what happens. They're doing what they can. And like for the people that are screaming, you got to get rid of the brands, they just landed the best recruit that's come out of the country in a long time, since Spencer Lee, the last guy that they also got.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I don't know what the right answer is. And I'm sure that that, by the way, is not going to be the athletic director at Iowa. That's not her first priority, because we're watching the final couple years of Kirk Ferentz' career too, Justin.
Yep, that's true.
So her focus needs to be figuring that puzzle out. The wrestling team's going to have to kind of do their own thing for a while, I think.
The University of Iowa, at least athletics, is very much in a transitionary, shaky time.
Good way to look at it.
And we're going to have to see what happens in the next few years. And the best place to find out that is absolutely not this show, because we don't do sports that well unless you're in here.
It's
your
Rush.
show. It's
the Rush. The Daily with me and on the Rush, and then of course all of our friends at Iowa Everywhere and the content they put out, that is like deep dive stuff.
You're not affiliated with Iowa Everywhere, are you?
No. Our show is kind of independent of theirs,
but they also do great sports
and
stuff
wonderful
too,
friends and great guys. And
so true,
yeah. Long story on the business side of things, but they just weren't ready for a daily part of their programming yet. And Travis and I wanted to do that, and so we just decided we'd kind of launch our own thing and do it. And we've loved doing it, but we are big cheerleaders for the Iowa Everywhere team.
Yeah, good. It's a lot of local, really, really great content.
There is.
That is quickly outpacing some of the traditional mainstream stuff. And it's awesome to see what you guys are doing over there. Make sure to get all that up there on the website. Ross Peterson of
Justin.
The Rush, and of course Agency Iowa.
I think we got to one of your topics?
No, we got to all of them.
Did we really? Okay.
I know what I'm doing here, dude.
Okay,
I know what I'm doing.
You're like one of those guys. You did the crowd work and mixed in your material.
I know what I'm doing. This is not my first rodeo. Ross, thanks for coming on the Iowa podcast.
And to my fellow Iowans, Iowa expats, and Iowans at heart, thanks for listening and subscribing to the Iowa podcast.